Welcome to Pocket Full of History with April, where we uncover the real stories hidden within archives, forgotten newspapers. Many viewers might recognize this remarkable location from the new Peaky Blinders film, where scenes were filmed at the historic estate of Calke Abbey. Today the house stands quietly in the countryside, its rooms preserved almost exactly as they were left. But behind the calm appearance of this great country house lies a fascinating history recorded in newspapers about generosity, celebration, hardship, and sometimes tragedy. For more than 2 centuries, this was home to the influential Crewe family, one of the most powerful landowning families in the county. Their estate stretched across farmland and neighbouring villages, employing large numbers of labourers and servants whose lives were closely connected to the fortunes of the house. They were not simply private homes, they were the centre of entire communities. Newspaper reports from the time reveal that the Crewe family had developed a strong reputation for generosity toward their tenants and local people. During a difficult period for farmers, when rising taxation and economic hardship were placing pressure on rural communities. One report describes how Sir George Crewe gathered together his principal tenants to hear their concerns. Rather than increasing rents, he decided to reduce them, explaining that he wanted the farmers on his estate to be able to live comfortably, support their families, and continue cultivating their land successfully. The article praised him as a liberal landlord, respected by the many tenants who depended on the estate. Acts of charity were also common. During one particularly severe winter, Sir George organised the distribution of blankets and warm clothing to poor widows in the surrounding villages, each woman also receiving £0.50 to help them through the difficult season. Food was also shared from the estate. One newspaper report records how 4 cows, 6 sheep and a pig, together with 170 stone of flour baked into bread, were distributed among villagers living in nearby communities including Ticknall, Swarkstone and Breedon. For many families, these distributions would have made a significant difference during the winter months. At Christmas, the estate continued its long tradition of generosity. One report describes how 3 fat bullocks raised on the estate farm were slaughtered, with the meat distributed among 258 families from villages including Smithby, Ticknall and Cork. Villagers gathered at the riding school attached to the abbey, where the food was distributed according to the size of each family. Sir Vauncey Harper Crewe and members of the family were present, and the occasion ended with cheers raised in their honour. But life at Abbey was not only about charity and hard work. It could also be a place of celebration. When Sir John Harper Crewe celebrated his birthday, the occasion was marked with a large feast for the estate workforce. More than 110 workers employed across the estate gathered to enjoy a traditional meal of roast beef, plum pudding and plenty of ale. The newspapers describe a lively atmosphere, with toasts raised to Sir John and Lady Crewe, and church bells from nearby Ticknall and Repton ringing throughout the day. On another occasion, the anniversary of Sir John's birthday and wedding day was celebrated with a feast for nearly 300 children from the schools of Cork and Ticknall. After enjoying a generous dinner of roast beef, plum pudding, pies and tarts, the children were allowed to walk through the gardens and parklands surrounding the abbey, turning the estate into a place of celebration for the entire community. Yet the same newspapers that recorded these joyful events also reveal that life connected to the estate could be very dangerous. One report describes what it called a shocking accident involving a harvest worker employed on the estate. While working high above the ground on scaffolding beside a large haystack, the man lost his footing and fell heavily onto the wagon below. The fall caused severe internal injuries, including a rupture of the intestines, and despite attempts to help him, he died within a few hours. An inquest was later held at Ticknall. Such accidents remind us how hazardous agricultural work could be in the 19th century. Another report tells the story of Lily Wood, a 15-year-old kitchen maid employed at Calke Abbey near Melbourne. On the morning of the accident, she had gone into the servants' hall to open the shutters. She placed down a candle while she worked, but the back of her apron accidentally caught fire. Another servant, Hilda Smith, heard her shouting and ran upstairs, finding the girl in flames. She raised the alarm, ran downstairs for rugs and tried desperately to smother the fire. Despite these efforts, Lily was taken to hospital with severe burns and died only a few hours later. At the inquest, the coroner recorded a verdict of accidental death, and praised Hilda Smith for her quick attempt to save her. Less than 2 decades later, another terrible accident occurred in the kitchens of the Abbey. In 1914, Gertrude Mary Hopkins, another 15-year-old kitchen maid, was carrying out a common kitchen task, singeing ducks to remove the remaining feathers before cooking. This was done using methylated spirits, a highly flammable liquid. Witnesses later described hearing a loud explosion before the girl ran into the kitchen screaming. her clothing engulfed in flames. Members of the household rushed to help. The footman ran for rugs, the whole boy helped wrap them around her, and the house steward and Sir Vauncey Harper Crewe himself came to assist. But the injuries were severe. Doctors later reported that every piece of clothing she wore had been badly burned, and the young girl died from shock caused by her injuries. Following the tragedy, Sir Vauncey stated that he disapproved of the use of methylated spirits for such tasks and ordered that the practice must never again be used at the abbey. Fire had threatened the estate before. In 1865, a blaze broke out at the abbey itself. But thanks to the quick actions of servants, neighbours and fire engines from nearby Melbourne and Ashby, the flames were brought under control before serious damage was done. Sir John Harper Crewe later wrote publicly to thank everyone who had helped stop the fire from spreading. Stories like these remind us that behind the grand appearance of country houses were the lives of real people, servants, labourers, tenants and families whose lives could change in an instant. And like many stately homes that were modernised and restored, the house was gradually left much as it had been. Rooms filled with collections gathered by the Crewe family remained untouched, turning the house into something like a time capsule of life in a historic country estate. Today the estate is cared for by the National Trust, allowing visitors to step back into a world that has largely disappeared. From acts of generosity that supported entire communities, to the tragedies recorded in old newspaper reports, the estate reveals a far richer and more complex history than the peaceful building we see today. Thank you for watching Pocket Full of History with April, and finding hidden secrets that haven't been told.